Native born of Scotts Bluff. Of course, I didn't grow up there, did I? I didn't learn your racism. I didn't learn to, well, hate the way that you do. Thank you for teaching me how to use firearms. Thank you for teaching me how to play with explosives and also how to construct a shape charge. That was kind of cool. But I don't use those skills. They're not useful in my life. A gun would only get me killed. And because everybody knows bullets don't exactly stop where you want them to. There's always the possibility of other people getting killed in a scenario like that too. I don't even carry a BB gun. And dear Nebraska, we'll start with Dual County. James Hammond ran against the current sheriff, Scott Costa. And one of the things that he ran off of is something that I've been telling you, and you treat me like I'm crazy for saying. And Scott DaCosta, I told you, the whole friggin' department, in 5 years' time, lost 20 officers. Who knows why they all moved along? Well, I know why they all moved along. It's because literally I have thousands of phone calls recorded. I went to these people repeatedly because that's who I was told to go to, and they repeatedly broke the law, not realizing that I'm smarter than they thought, and that calling me schizophrenic wasn't going to work, even if they tried to pull a sly one by taking me to a hospital and telling me at the hospital that I was schizophrenic. Oh, it's chilly. Anyway, Scott DaCosta had to allow over 20 deputies in a 5-year period to move on so that they could escape prosecution and so that they could escape the judgment of the law. Now, this cost Dual County a lot of money, and it's also cost a few public officials. I forgot to mention those ones. There are no less than 7 pedophiles in Dual County, Nebraska, and the surrounding area that would have been captured were it not for the fact that, well, law enforcement refuses to listen to a disabled person, especially if he is a male, especially if he is homeless. And there's a lot of factors that go into this. But the thing is, Scott Costa's playing dirty, and he manipulated multiple jurisdictions and also multiple judges. And the evidence of these things is on my YouTube here. You guys keep trying to destroy all the evidence. You try to pull out little bits and pieces that you can use to try to pretend I'm a bad person. Try to have my evidence destroyed, but the thing is that it's up for a reason, and it is all evidence. Every single bit of it. That was the whole intent from the beginning. Tell the truth and get it to law enforcement. Tell the truth, get it to the courts. Tell the truth, put these predators away. Anybody who's not down with that, I don't want to hear what a humanitarian you are, what a wonderful liberal or Democrat or Republican you are. I don't want to hear what a good Christian or Muslim you are. I don't care about any of that. I care about how you treat other people. Is it equal? I get that you can't save the whole world. Lots of people like to use that as an excuse for not coming forward about a situation that they are aware of. that they are a part of, that they are a witness to. Now, Nebraska has not just lost those. There's also, of course, I got to consider the folks at the jail that I tried to turn in. Well, I did turn them in. I was just denied assistance, and that's one of the problems with being a disabled homeless person. When you are autistic and people have been victimizing you until you are to the point of crisis, yeah, they are taking advantage of you. They are taking full advantage of you. I know a lot of people didn't want to come forward and admit that I went to them for help, but that's because they outright dismissed me, treated me like I was I tell you, it's the autistic retard treatment and the homeless treatment, because it's kind of the same thing. It's hard to find a homeless person that doesn't have PTSD, and it's not because we're a bunch of whiners. It's because trauma happens, and you call it drama. As you can tell, I'm not a very nice person. There are things I care about, and your bullshit is not as important as human lives. So, yeah, even though, well, we'll give you an example here. I turned in Michelle Decini. Where is she at now? And how did she escape getting prosecuted as a child molester? Now then, as a rapist, sex offender. That's what I was looking for. But Michelle Decini's in prison. Sarah Nelson is in prison. I told on both of them. Sarah Nelson was the lady who was in charge of several programs that I was supposed to be going through. And here's the thing. She came and talked to me literally the day before I was transferred out of there. The way I was treated in there was horrible. And there's a lot of inmates in there who are being treated that way. The mental health ward is atrocious. They'd send me to the mental health ward because Scott DaCosta, the very officer I was trying to turn into Nebraska State Patrol, and the very officer that I had been trying to turn in since 2018 for his conduct, being forced repeatedly to go in to them alone after they were aware in 2018 I was trying to turn them in. Having them, specifically the officers who were threatening, harassing, and intimidating me, be there repeatedly for situations where I had to talk to somebody to try to get help, such as Jared Hahn and later Bill Burr. The thing is that when you are a at-risk adult, it doesn't matter if you are disabled or if you're elderly. The risks are the same, and out here on the street, they are much higher. Even our own groups don't look out for us on the streets. The homeless got each other, and that's it. And you know that even your best friend out there homeless is too scared to come forward when it comes to the police, but they want to try to make themselves sound macho. You know, the reason these people get away with this is because you never say anything. You guys say that you're going to kill them and creepy shit like that. Why would you do that? I mean, I get why I finally did that. And I was very specific. For a reason. Now, my predators have been able to do all they can to destroy evidence so that I can't take it into court. The professional legal advice that I was given was these things would take acts of God. Now, that's the reason that you need a friend to go with you to begin with, and your friend can't be a coward. If your rights are trampled, Your friend needs to speak out. If they were a friend, that's the least they can fucking do. The problem is when your friend's fucked up real big and don't want to get in trouble. However, I think you guys should probably take a look at the people who have been arrested and convicted recently and realize that I spoke out about those people beforehand. There's also multiple crimes in other states related to human trafficking that very much I have been a part of. Very much I've had interactions with people that very much had useful information that you didn't want to hear. Everything goes to Denver, folks. Any road that goes to Denver, there's going to be humans on that don't want to be there. This is a much bigger problem than you want to pretend it is. Now, I'm real glad that I've been such an asshole and spoken out for so long and not given up. I don't have a life to look forward to because of police corruption in western Nebraska and elsewheres. The problems with sexism, the problems with hatred of the disabled, and the problems of people like Scott DeCosta getting to retaliate against me since 2018 for trying to turn in his deputies for breaking the law. The man has committed repeated felonies, which have resulted in repeated felonies. They have also resulted in me being treated like I'm a schizophrenic and delusional individual. Marcia Estrada not only stated outright, and it's on my YouTube channel, that I am not schizophrenic, that I am not delusional, that I am not psychotic. That I'm not bipolar. She also stated that many of these people that you guys wanted to pretend don't exist and made zero effort to contact. Yeah, great job, law enforcement. These people say they won't do it unless law enforcement makes them. Law enforcement won't do it unless they have a friggin' judge's order. And so on and so on and so on. But it changes, don't it? All the time. So I have to spend up to 2 years in court trying to get something done, or longer, because it's a cop and they have special rights. They have special rights to murder you. That's what you're pissed off about. But you don't care about them murdering the homeless. Who do you think those people are going to go out and take advantage of now that they've realized they can't kill black people no matter what? They can still kill homeless people. You don't care. On the bright side, I'm the world's worst Nebraskan. I don't hate black people. I don't hate gay people. I have gay friends. I have black friends. I also have people that I know who are gay, who are not very good people. And people who are black who I know who are not very good people. I know white people. Some are good and some of them are, well, actually, honestly, I can't honestly say I know any good people from Nebraska. No genuinely good people. No honest and forthright individuals. Now, Polly Olson, she's locked up too, and although she's not a police officer, she worked closely with them. She was a friend of theirs, and she helped them get away with it. That's the problem with not having a friend when you have to go turn the crime in to begin with. The cops don't want to do their job, so they blow you off. instead of just assuming they know what's going on, maybe they should listen. Maybe they should look at the laws and then listen to what the police said to me and what they said to me. On the bright side, 28 law enforcement officers and or jail guards have been forced to move on. 28 of them, most of which are from Dual County, Nebraska, so I am pretty friggin' proud of myself. See, that's the thing, is that keeping somebody from being allowed to show their evidence, that requires gaslighting, and the police took part in that, and they convinced a lot of other people to do a lot of illegal things. And that can be proven. Now tomorrow, there's a lady who is going to, and that's only if she keeps her word, I'm hoping she does, she's going to be making a call with me to Adult Protective Services, and we are going to coordinate to make sure this evidence goes to where it needs to go. I shouldn't be forced to drive. I am the world's worst friggin' driver. This car is falling apart. It's eating up all of my money. And that's the thing, is that you guys think travel is free. It's not free. You tell me to take the bus, that's not any cheaper. If you look at the schedule of how many appointments you have to go to when you're poor for the most minimalistic of resources, it is literally a full-time job. How the hell is a disabled person who can't work a full-time job supposed to do a full-time job's worth of work when they're not capable? If they were capable, they could just get a job. For me, my biggest issue with getting a job is that I'm fucking different. People are scared of me, and I have Tourette syndrome. I got this creepy nasal snort that grosses people out. You're fucking welcome. Now in Nebraska, you're not allowed to curse in front of women or children. I'm surprised they didn't charge me with that one. Of course, they'd only gotten maybe, I don't know. They probably could have charged me with about 5,000 years worth of that shit. I mean, I curse a lot. I tried being nice and kind and polite and telling people and explaining to them nicely what's going on, but they didn't have the time to even listen. So I got to listen to all of their excuses or all of their reasons why they didn't have time. They tell me it's their reasons because they didn't have time. But the fact that it doesn't line up with the police say, matter of fact, none of what these people say lines up with the police say. So I recorded these people, and I recorded the police, and I also saved my records, and guess what? They don't line up. They don't fucking line up. See, that's why it's important for people to come forward. I told you the cops were being dishonest. And I've also got recordings with all of these people about the abuse in their households, including with their children. Michael Allen Albert was sexually predatory towards multiple women and girls in Chapel, Nebraska. I mean, most of high school, that's all I got to hear about was my little brother couldn't take no for an answer. Michael couldn't take no for an answer. Michael touched this person, Michael touched that person, and those people themselves coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Sean, could you talk to your brother? You fucking touched me again, and I'm gonna fucking break him in half," basically. Or if I tell my dad will kill him. I would have just gone and told Eric and had him deal with it. I went to my mom, she wouldn't fucking listen. I was like, "Come on, Mom. Like, if you let him get away with that, he's just gonna keep fucking doing it." So then what happens? Well, after Natalie Marie Bollinger was killed, and I'd been treated like hell by child molesters and rapists who wanted to play victim. Well, it turns out my little brother was doing it to his own daughter. No, that's not okay. Now, one of the big things that people need to understand is that when it comes to the laws, there's an important reason for the laws to be there. There's also an important reason for the protocols. In Nebraska, well, the whole state's full of cowards. And then, of course, there's you need to respect the badge. No, I will not respect the badge. If you are going to put murderers and people who help child molesters in badges, I have no legal obligation to do anything that they say. It's not my fault that people are mean. It's not my fault that people do evil shit. Now, there's a lot of people who are probably going to have to take a slap on the wrist for the things that they've done. I hope it's just a slap on the wrist. I believe that a lesson learned is probably pretty important. I think the fact that nobody was willing to look at evidence and the ones that did were scared shitless probably says something. You goddamn right, I'd be scared too. Oh yeah, it's fucking sent to me. Oh my God, Sean, they sent you that? I'm like, yeah. You want to see the gun he's got? What? He's got a gun? Yeah, he's got a gun. You want to see the screenshots of that? And then there's poor Mandy Singer who got to see that stuff in person. Do I feel bad for her? You goddamn right I do. What are the chances that she may have lost her housing because I was up there getting help from her? That's one of the things about housing. They're pretty friggin' Nazi. They don't care that you're trying to help out a friend who's got legal issues. As far as they're concerned, if there's legal issues, you must be guilty. That's how most of the public is in Nebraska. They don't believe in the Constitution. They believe in lynchings. They believe in being dirty cops and doing it the good old boy way. That's how we ended up with old man Derry, who was crippled as fuck, somehow able to kill his wife and bury her. There's a couple of girls that were real cool back in high school. One of them, according to Kim Jepsen, wasn't so cool. But she was cool to me, except for one little incident. Just that one little incident. I thought it was fucking hilarious as shit, but she didn't like it. That was Alyssa Derry and Amber Derry. A lot of people played head games with me. Definitely played them back. Most certainly. I mean, here's the point. I got tired of taking it and 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 taking it, and I gave a little bit of it back, and everybody fucking freaked. How do you like it? You don't. What, you don't like it? You don't like being posted all over the internet? Holy shit, what a surprise. On the bright side, at least you're on the internet for something you actually did. If I said you did something, you did it. If I said you didn't do something, then you didn't. If there's a discrepancy between the two, it's because I'm, of course, saying what it is the cops said. I'm repeating what the cops said. Why is it the people want to keep on claiming that I'm slandering their name when I'm simply repeating what the cops said? That's the point of most of this, is that while you want to hide the fact that I went to you for help, and then there's a whole bunch of evidence between you and I that shows that the cops fucking lied and didn't do their jobs, well, yeah, it's actually pretty important evidence. On the bright side, there are enough, according to Nebraska law, to convene a grand jury and ask why the hell it is that I was recycled through the hands of these people and had to go to these people repeatedly for help. Why is it that I had to be put into the hands of violent criminals with badges? People with badges who are abusing their power to assault others, physically and sexually, as well as those people having positions of power where they were able to allow, pardon me, crimes to be committed against me off of the words of a police officer who I was trying to turn in. How is Scott DaCosta and his officers able to try to peg me as crazy everywhere that they took me? Which, of course, if you're trying to turn those officers in, yeah, they probably shouldn't be taking you anywhere. They probably should not be involved in the process of turning them in. See, that's the thing, is that literally the officers I was trying to turn in took me to the hospital and lied to the hospital. This doesn't sound a little fishy to you? Being diagnosed as schizophrenic by a police officer, it doesn't work that way. It's illegal. And that's where this honor and trust system with the police needs to fucking stop. The body cameras with the Boulder Police Department and others in Colorado and Nebraska should have been requisitioned. But see, 28, that's just the number for Nebraska so far. According to the guards in the prison, if they lose their jobs, they try to scare us with this. They tell us that if they lose their jobs because we turn them in, then the National Guard comes in. And the National Guard takes care of it. Well, bring on the National Guard. There's a lot of the prisoners. Mind you, I was in prison for a crime I didn't commit. The County Safe Keep program there in Nebraska allowed Dual County Sheriff Scott DaCosta to prevent me from turning him in and to have me shipped around to other jurisdictions on your tax dollars. And a lot of people have so far paid the price for not listening to me. That includes multiple deaths, as well as a lot of stuff about human trafficking that you might want to listen to. Now, I researched the law and I followed the law, and I was lied to by the law. I was lied to repeatedly in multiple jurisdictions. Scott DaCosta, the very officer I was trying to turn in because he was doing all this, well, obviously illegal stuff, you get to see how all of these other officers and officials were investigated and arrested by the Nebraska State Patrol. But the Nebraska State Patrol lied to me repeatedly. There are call after call after call to the Nebraska State Patrol on my channel. I explained to them that I am disabled. I explained to them that that's who I was sent to. I was sent to multiple departments over and over and over again and ultimately sent right back to where I started from. That's the difference. Maybe you guys should stop playing stupid and start listening to Sean David Schwartz. It would have saved you 28 officers. It also would have gotten people like Andrew Witcher locked up for what he did. It would have gotten a lot of other people locked up too. There's a lot of people that I recorded on my YouTube channel with the intent of turning it into law enforcement. The fact that the evidence is on YouTube for God and everybody to see. about these very predators, about witnesses who have taken a look at the evidence that I can't post up here because I'll get banned. So I found people to look at that stuff in person where I can actually show them. When I went in person, the officers that I was trying to turn in got to lie to people. Got to lie to the very professionals that I needed to talk to turn those officers in. And then they got to stand there while those officials that I have to turn them into stood there. If I got to turn in Jared Hahn, yeah, he probably shouldn't be involved. Same thing with stuttering Stanley Cody Selhorst. He went to Rapid City, South Dakota. I got some situations there that people in Nebraska know about, including Chris Stegeman, including Todd Rust of Chapel, Nebraska. And they knew these things were happening, and they know that I'm disabled. Unfortunately, they broke the law. So did Pastor Rod Wright. The fact that my predators wanted to repeatedly pretend that I was a schizophrenic is just absolutely stupid. Congratulations, Nebraska. Also, I told you about Kenneth Zarecki. What'd he do? He waited till she was legal age and got married to her. Nearly immediately. I told you guys, but nobody wanted to listen, and it's not just me. There's a young woman named Bobby in Chapel, Nebraska. Not only was she aware that he was a pedophile, that he was having sex with an underage girl, there's also the evidence of her being threatened and harassed and intimidated if she came forward. Is this not a common story? Why don't you listen? I've tried to give my evidence to you guys free of charge. Instead, Scott DaCosta and no less than 3 of my other predators, who I was literally trying to turn in at that point in time, very loudly and proudly, worked together across jurisdictional lines to prevent me from being able to turn them in. They utilized multiple jurisdictions around them to commit these felonies. They threatened, harassed, and intimidated my friends and my family. And it cost me a lot. Now, I get that my friends and family aren't perfect. I get that. I mean, their stupidity resulted in people dying, but the same thing with the cops. Now, none of your mandated reporters wanted to follow the law as far as mandated reporters go. On the bright side, I saved evidence of that. A lot of it is audio recordings. I recorded the meetings. When I was told that there were certain people I needed to go to about the crimes, I went to those people and I recorded it. Over and over and over again. Round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. Here's the moral of the story, folks. Not listening to Sean David Schwartz results in unnecessary death. Not listening to Sean David Schwartz allows predators to get away. Not listening to Sean David Schwartz results in public officials who do these things repeatedly and get a big head and get busted doing it again. Now, when they were busted doing it again, maybe you should have stopped and maybe, I don't know, reviewed the facts. Here's somebody that was trying to tell you this is going on and telling you that they were being bullied by other law enforcement officers for trying to turn it in. That's literally the law enforcement officers that I was trying to turn it into are the law enforcement officers that Nebraska State Patrol told me I needed to turn it into. How much sense does it make to you guys, Nebraska, to tell an at-risk adult who is being victimized that he's got to go to his predators to try to turn his predators in? This makes no sense. Now take a look at Dual County. They got a long history of crooked law enforcement and also tooting their own horns to try to make themselves look good after being idiots. On the bright side, trying to hide the crimes of Dual County officers has cost no less than 28 officers in the state of Nebraska across multiple jurisdictions. It's unfortunate that out of those 28 officers, none of them were ever even investigated for the crimes they committed against me, no matter how hard I tried. Some of these were the people that I had to go to for help, the people I was instructed to go to for help. When I was in prison for crimes I didn't commit, they had to drop the charges. The protocols weren't followed. On the bright side, I saved the evidence. There's a lot of people that are mad at me right now from Nebraska. But you know what? There's a lot of people who should not have taken advantage of me. People like, well, of course, Dallas Richmond, Tara Hicks, Marcia Estrada, Penny Cooper. And that's the funny thing about it, is that Marcia Estrada, her crime was that she's a mandated reporter who didn't do her job. I told her repeatedly about the abuse. Repeatedly. In just one of the recordings that's on my YouTube channel. I think I say it at least 5 or 6 times. No matter what, I try explaining it, and it always comes back to whatever excuse can be made to ignore the situation instead of doing the mandated job. And of course, I'm not capable of taking care of myself, and she's not taking that into account. Nobody takes into account my physical disabilities or my mental disabilities. Marcia Estrada sort of did, but she also took a look at some of the evidence. She's also aware of the abuse in the Scottsbluff jail. She knows that it happens. But we primarily focused on the abuses by Dual County Sheriff Scott DaCosta and his deputies. As well as the fact that, well, she was aware that it was corrupt and why it's corrupt. She was able to spell out specifically, without being led like a horse, what these issues are. She was able to speak specifically about Scott DaCosta, who is still the sheriff there. Now, James Hammond committed crimes against me as well. But here's the thing, is that when you're dealing with crooked cops, they're going to hire crooked cops, and those crooked cops aren't going to do their jobs. In rural Nebraska, there's nothing. I don't owe it to Nebraska, just because I was born there, to hate who you hate. I've been called N-word lover for as long as I can remember there. I've had people hit me and kick me and spit on me and all sorts of other stuff because they wanted to pretend I was a homosexual. And I gotta tell you, I'm the world's worst Nebraskan. Every time one of these officers goes down, I'm like, whew! Especially when it is specifically the criminals that I tried to turn in when they did it to me. And when they helped others to get away with doing those things to me. How many of your tax dollars do you think Scott DaCosta and Polly Olson siphoned off? Marcia Estrada, in just one of those conversations, admits to knowing at least one, if not more, I'm not sure which one is actually posted up, but in both of them she explains these things. That she knows Tamara personally. This isn't a lady who's a figment of my imagination. It is a woman I went to for help because I was being abused. She also admits to knowing, God, what's her name? Cindy Taylor, the housing lady. And that's recorded in there for certain. There's other victims of Scott DeCosta's, and those other victims have spoken to her about the victimization against me. Someone calling themselves Cray Cray 420 typed, what crimes did the cops do? Sorry, I don't know. Anyone ever say you sound like Charlie? I don't know who Charlie is. I hope he's an asshole. Anyway, between the assaults against me, the threats, the harassment, the intimidation of myself and my friends and my family, repeated, I've got the words of my friends, I've got the words of my family, I've got them recorded. There's also the playing stupid, all of the dirty little tricks of the trade to keep these things out of court, to try it. Like, they're supposed to send my computer to North Platte, the police, or the sheriff's department in Chapel. There's no police department, it's just a sheriff's department. County's too small for a police department. So the only law enforcement I have that I can turn in law enforcement to is either Scott DeCosta or State Patrol. And although it is State Patrol's job, State Patrol repeatedly lied to me and told me it wasn't their job. Then they intentionally sent me on a wild goose chase. Yes, police brutality, and a lot of physical brutality. Oh, he typed Manson. No, I actually don't sound like Charles Manson. I've heard him speak. But I can do a Charles Manson voice if you want to hear it. Anyway, I'm not really down with the trolling right now. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take a screenshot of what you typed just in case you try to erase it. Evidence is pretty important. Scott DeCosta, it's neglect, it's negligence resulting in death is what it is. They assisted a lot of people in getting away with threatening me, harassing me, assaulting me, including registered sex offender Robert Franklin Warnick. You should look up the name Robert Franklin Warnick. I want you to look that name up. And then I want you to look up the name Wesley Reiner. Yeah, I tried to turn both of those guys in. You're welcome. Matter of fact, Mandy Singer got to see some of that paperwork. I tried. It doesn't mean that the crooked sheriff is going to let me. There's a lot of people in Chapel, Nebraska that wanted to mess around with methamphetamines. On my channel are conversations with Joshua Rayborn. He and Amy Kalina Kingery lost their kids once already due to their meth use. And I tried to trust them because David and Laura Nelson were wanting to tell me and swear up and down that they were sober, they were clean, they were doing the right thing because they wanted to get the kids back. Well, that's not what ended up happening. What ended up happening is that I was in Rawlins, Wyoming, broke as a joke, taking care of two little girls who were very horribly behaved because they were scared of the environment they were in. They just wanted to get out of the camper and get away from Rihanna. Understandably, she kept on hitting them. I made repeated phone calls there too, but you guys just didn't want to hear it. That's why it went on YouTube. That's why there's multiple calls with Rihanna. And all of this, the cops don't care about doing the right thing when it's a disabled, homeless male. We must have chose this. We chose our disabilities. No, my parents were druggies, not my fault. Most of my family are druggies or child molesters. Not my fault. But you know what? The fact that my little brother Michael got away with the crimes that he committed, And the fact that I did tell on him, and the fact that there are multiple witnesses to the situations. It's not that I didn't tell the truth. It's that other people didn't. Where did I get that information? Did you think I just magicked it up? There's recordings with my little sister about the situation. About her and my niece being threatened and having their lives threatened. Now, I understand a bit about the situation, but not a lot. Do I believe that people did that to my little sister? I believe, yes, absolutely I do. I believe it is a possibility. I also believe Mandy Singer's opinion on it, I think, is probably a lot better guided than mine. The reason for that is because she's got a lot more experience as an addict. Unfortunately, she can help you guys with a lot, but the thing is that she can't do that if you keep cutting her off at the waist, cutting her off at the knees, cutting her off left, right, and center instead of going to her door and saying, "Hey, Mandy, we're sorry for what we've done to you. We're sorry. We really need your help." Mandy Singer is still in McCook, Nebraska. So, dear Nebraska, haven't you lost enough? Sonny Ceramic, that's all I got to say. I got a lot of evidence, Nebraska. You guys might want to write your governor. You might want to look some of them names up. I'm scared. I am always scared. I can barely function. I am so scared. But you know what? As soon as my friends started dying, started getting abducted and disappearing, people like Natalie Bollinger, Rebecca Gross Nickel Foley, Brittany Richmond, Tara Hicks, you goddamn right I spoke up. There's a lot of other people that are still missing right now. David and Katie Saltzman are missing from Beaverton, Oregon. Dear Nebraska, your state is corrupt. The county safekeep program allows an innocent person to be locked up in prison without a conviction. I was literally charged with misdemeanors because I was trying to turn in felonies that were committed against me by Scott DaCosta, Leslie Snell, Robert Franklin Warnick, and William Barr. All of the people whose bullshit worked together to prevent me from turning in Scott DaCosta. Scott DaCosta's paperwork is on all of it. Leslie Snell's name is on all of it. They outright lied in all of those court documents. Not only that, they were able to try to separate it by putting it into civil and criminal courts. The fact is that DaCosta never should have been allowed to touch a goddamn thing with me. There's a lot of people whose lives are at risk right now because Nebraskans want to live in the 18th century and whip their mules. They want to send their retards to the asylum. Well, I'm not a retard. I'm going to tell you something. Smartest man on the planet is a Russian with Down syndrome. Somebody with autism, you assume, is retarded. Somebody with cerebral palsy, you assume, is retarded. Was Stephen Hawking retarded? No. The answer is no. Maybe you guys should take a look at Chapel, Nebraska. Maybe you should actually take a serious look at the people that I've spoken up about and how serious those situations actually were and are. Maybe you should realize that there is somebody who is literally trying to throw the evidence in your face. Throw it in your face. Take it, please. But do not give it to my predators. And never, ever just take their word for it because they got a fucking badge. Polly Olson, haha, bye-bye. Hope you enjoy them bars. Michelle DeCini, you lost your badge, now you're behind bars. Michelle Quinn, you lost your badge, now you're behind bars. Sarah Nelson, you fucked up and now you're behind bars. I seriously don't know how to impress enough upon Nebraska how much it has cost them. For Scott DeCosta to cover his own backside. This man was literally willing to help pedophiles get away with committing felonies against me. So I don't want to hear about your moral ground. If you're good people, be good people. Good people, not nice. Your niceness, fake. It's like going down south saying, her husband is such a friggin' idiot. Bless his heart. Yeah, no. No, we don't need that crock. There's a word they got in Nebraska. It's called what? Bullshit. It's called bullshit. I want you, every Nebraskan who watches this video, I want you to repeat after me. It's bullshit. All right. Now let's see about getting my evidence to where it needs to go. Because there's a lot more people who are involved in this. And if you allow them to get away with it, they will do it again and again and again and again and again. Case in point, Scott DeCosta. Obviously, more than one victim. Listen to that. With Marcia Estrada, yeah, he's got more than one victim. More than one victim with just one therapist. So, what are we going to do about this? You going to go pick up Marcia Estrada and Penny Cooper? So you could grill them after my evidence, but the great thing would be grilling them without it and then seeing how it compares with the evidence. See how it compares with the claims that they made. See how it compares with the calls that were actually made and with the actual conversations and the way they mislead it. Marcia Estrada might be smart enough to be honest. Penny Cooper's not. That'll be fun too. But who's going to investigate it? Scott DeCosta was able to utilize the Cheyenne Police Department. Or the, sorry, not the Cheyenne Police Department. The, Sidney Police Department, that's Sidney, Nebraska, in Cheyenne County. The Cheyenne County Sheriff's Department on multiple occasions. As well as his own department, that's the Dual County Sheriff's Department. When I'd try to turn his officers in, he'd play stupid, tell me to go everywhere else. They'd give me the runaround with the state patrol until that officer was able to leave without any charges against him, because I didn't have anyone to turn it into. Who do I turn it into? I knew who I was supposed to. I knew who the law said to go to. I also knew these people weren't doing their jobs, and I recorded it over and over and over and over and over. Now, the juiciest stuff isn't even on the internet. See, now here's how it should go. You guys should find a way to get my evidence and my testimony and turn these people in. You should listen to the other victims on my channel. There's a lot that's just me talking, but there's also a lot of places where you can go to find mountains of evidence. Mountains of evidence. There's also people like Megan Misigatis. With the evidence on my channel, it should be able to be subpoenaed to get the evidence that was sent to her that was supposed to be sent to the Nebraska State Patrol, which somehow she was incapable of finding a way to do such a thing. I had to announce on my YouTube channel when I was trying to turn these people in for my own safety, so that people would know where I was. So when I disappeared for 6 months or 2 years, people knew where I was. Sean Schwartz tried to turn in the cops again. They told me he had to turn it into Costa again, and, well, now he's fucking locked up somewhere, maybe. Maybe he finally offed himself. Maybe he's on another Facebook ban. Well, my predators, when I tell on them, they sure do try to get the evidence taken down. They don't want people to know I said it. Matter of fact, they want to be angry at me, and some of them want to sue me for saying it. Well, it came out of your mouth, so you don't get to. That's what sucks, doesn't it? You're pissed off that I post things up in their entirety, the whole conversation. I even busted a judge. I recorded our court date in Nebraska. Leslie Snell, I told you about the things that she did, and her name is all over my paperwork. If I have to go to YouTube and Facebook to keep myself, my friends, my family, my loved ones safe, keep in mind Nebraskans had every opportunity to do the right thing. Law enforcement in Nebraska had every opportunity to do the right thing. Terry Jepson, a school nurse in Broken Bow, had the opportunity to do the right thing. Brandon Jepson was smart enough to flee the state. Amanda Daniels was smart enough to flee the state. On the bright side, I saved those records for all of you. It's a matter of putting it together, and it's a matter of stopping the crimes committed against me long enough for me to be able to do that. I got a lady who's going to hopefully help me tomorrow, and I got to tell you, I haven't been nice to her at all. You can ask her, but if you don't want to ask her, well, that's fine too. I've already posted a bunch of it on the internet. She told me she understands why I'm frustrated and that I didn't have to take it down. There's Jace, Chapel Witness. That's a story on there for you. It's one of the witnesses in Nebraska, Dual County. Jace. That's his name. He's a Jepson. You should also look up the name Dana Jepson. You probably won't like him after you read about him. I know the guy personally. What he was convicted of is different from what he was accused of. Craig Cray, 420 type. Can I ask what your disability is? Which one? I highly recommend type up the name Marcia Estrada, Marcia Estrada. Not Google. You're not going to find my diagnosis on Google. It's on YouTube. I told you, I've had this channel for a while, and even though a lot of it's me talking, from time to time, there's actual evidence that I've been able to dig out. There's just a lot of it to go through. Not much opportunity to go through it. And nobody to help turn it in. I'm diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and Tourette syndrome and Asperger's syndrome, which is now called high-functioning autism. Also, my mental health specialist, she States outright in the recording. It's Marcia Estrada, Marciaestrada, Marcia Estrada, and then Sean David, ShawnDavid. I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of me talking on there that's nice. There's also a lot of me being very angry. Most of the videos that I make, I am too scared to do anything. But at least I speak. My voice isn't heard, but at least I speak. There's a lot of people who are dead because I wasn't heard. And you guys don't even want to get into that. That's why Scott DaCosta did the things that he did. Nobody wants to be held accountable for ignoring the victim, or for going out of their way to make every excuse why it's not their job to do their job. It's literally their job. Blowing me off because I'm a male? That's sexist. It's against the law to do that, but you did it anyway, didn't you? You did horrible things and then played victim. On the bright side, many of my predators are behind bars already. There's still a whole lot more. There's more dangerous predators than the ones you locked up. Scott DaCosta for one. James Hammond for another. Jared Hahn, although it was implied that he had gotten a job elsewhere and was no longer there to serve time for the crimes he committed, turns out he was actually a city council member who got to be on the voting panel to decide whether or not I was allowed medical care while I was in prison on false charges. Garden County Sheriff Michelle Quinn, guess where she's at? Well, she's not sheriff anymore. You should see what happened to her after her and her boys got a hold of me. The domestic violence is not okay, not even if you're a cop, not even if you're the sheriff. You know why? Nebraska State Patrol, it is their job to police the police. They just don't care if the person is a disabled and homeless male. Well, guess what? I was made homeless. I was made disabled. And I was born a male. You might want to get Andrew Witcher and Amy Witcher and put them in the prison that they belong in for allowing those things to happen and for taking advantage of the people they did. Between taking advantage of an at-risk adult and molesting at least one of those children, no, that's not okay. It's not acceptable. And the way police treated me when I tried to turn it in, I had to turn it in alone. And you guys know that the number one thing you're supposed to do is not go in alone. Go in with a friend or a family member. Of course, it's assumed a friend or family member actually cares about you and is going to find out what's going on. How many of you got tight family like that? If you do, congratulations. If you don't, I'm fighting for you hard. I'm fighting hard to get you some rights. I'm fighting hard so that you have a place where you can live without being judged and punished for existing by a bunch of bigots who want you to constantly pretend to be perfect. It's fake, and you know it. Do you get tired of pretending that it's a nice day out? Because if you don't smile and wave and pretend everything is fine and dandy, then it's spread around town that you're crazy because you're depressed. You ain't even allowed to have a bad day. Looking the other way ain't the cowboy way. course, there ain't no cowboys left, is there? My grandpa's farm, my grandpa Schwartz, his name was David Schwartz, and his farm was the closest one to Chimney Rock. My aunts and uncles remember sleeping through the steeple on Chimney Rock falling down. If you don't know what Chimney Rock is, well, it's the thing on the back of the Nebraska state corridor. Dear Nebraskans, to those of you bigots who don't like blacks, don't like Mexicans, don't like gays, don't like lesbians, don't like disabled people, don't like Jews, well, I'm not like you. I believe in actual equality. And we need to put these officers behind bars en masse. I would much rather mass arrests than mass graves, because mass graves would only make them martyrs, and we cannot have that. These men and women are getting people killed. They're stepping over their bounds, and they're taking advantage of the positions of power which they have. Scott DaCosta still has that position of power. Leslie Snell will still help him to get away with the crimes that he's committed. Maybe you should find out what's going on before you dismiss somebody outright. I'm not as nice as my predators, but then again, I'm a lot meaner as well. When you bullshit me and I show the truth, it hurts your pride. Ted Bollinger would just rape you and kill you. Robert Frank thing, I don't know. Wesley Reiner can't, he's behind bars. When you tell on bad law enforcement, they retaliate, and they retaliate hard. But even that wasn't enough to save 28 of them. That's just in Nebraska. Good luck. You know how we end these videos. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.